Welcome, wealth builders, to 100 Wealth Building Secrets, podcast number 81. Today, we're going to be talking about breaking the closed circuit. I'm James Marshall, a registered investment advisor with Marshall Wealth Management. And this is a podcast where we talk about real wealth strategies for real people. And today, I want to start off by asking a question. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, you just can't seem to get ahead financially? Like every time you take a step forward, something knocks you two steps back, like a car repair, a medical bill, unexpected layoff. You're right back to where you started. That feeling has a name. A sociologist named Loic Wyquant, now I may be saying his name wrong, but I think it's Wyquant, called it the closed circuit of perpetual marginality. That phrase stopped me cold when I first read it in Michelle Alexander's powerful book, The New Jim Crow. Michelle quotes Wyckoff to describe how systems can be designed, intentionally or not, to keep people cycling through disadvantage with no visible way out. Now, Wyckoff was talking about incarceration, but I'm a financial advisor, and I see the same closed circuit play out in people's lives financially. The financial closed circuit, limited resources, reactive decisions, missed opportunities, continued instability, back to limited resources. It loops, it compounds, and without a framework, it doesn't stop. Well, today, I'm going to give you that framework. We're going to break the cycle together. I call the framework the four cornerstones of wealth. And by the end of this episode, you will have a clear and actionable blueprint to move from the financial survival mode to financial strategy. So let's get into it. Before I walk you through each cornerstone, I want you to understand the philosophy behind this framework. Because most financial advice is reactive. It says, you have a problem. Here's a product. But comprehensive financial planning, real planning, is proactive. It builds a system, and systems beat willpower every single time. The four cornerstones work in sequence. You can't skip a step. Try to build without stability, and you're building on sand. Try to grow money without protecting it, and you're one bad event away from zero. Here's how they flow. Number one, cornerstone number one, stability, budgeting, and cash reserves. Cornerstone number two, protection, safeguarding your wealth against setbacks. This could be health setbacks, even death. Cornerstone number three is growth. Now, when you talk about growth, you talk about many things, but in this case, we're talking about long term wealth, which would include annuities, stocks, ETFs, that type of thing. Cornerstone number four is income, generating guaranteed, sustainable income for life. Think of it like building a house. Cornerstone number one is your foundation. Number two is the roof. Number three builds the floors. And number four turns on the electricity. It makes the whole thing live and breathe. Take anyone away, and the house doesn't work, it's unlivable. All right, so let's build. Cornerstone number one, budgeting and cash reserves. This is where every client engagement I do starts. I always start with that. It's the foundation. Not with stocks, not with annuities, not with bonds, not with mutual funds or ETFs, not with real estate, with a budget. What does it cost you to live from month to month? Now, I know what you're thinking. James, I've heard this 1,000 times, and you probably have. But here's what most people don't understand about budgeting. It's not about restriction, it's about intention. I mean, you're going to spend what you're going to spend, but just know what you're spending so that it's not an unexpected expense that throws off your cash flow. I use what's called the zero based budget. Every dollar you earn gets a job before the month begins: housing, transportation, groceries, savings, investment, entertainment. Yes, even that gets a line item because you're going to entertain, you might as well budget for it. When every dollar has a purpose, you stop leaking money. Leaking money is a bad situation. And most people, when they actually sit down and do this exercise, they're shocked about how much money they are leaking. Now, in past podcasts, I've used the scenario of the flat bike tire, putting that blown up inner tube in a bucket of water to see where the bubbles are so you can find the hole, the puncture hole to patch the leak. Same scenario here. But budgeting alone isn't enough. You need a cash cushion, what I call your financial shock absorber. The rule is simple: 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in a high yield savings account, untouched, not your checking account, not under the mattress, a dedicated separate account earning you something while it waits to deal with an unexpected emergency. Here's why this matters. When an unexpected expense hits, and it will, people without an emergency fund have only one option: debt, credit cards, payday loans, borrowing from family. Each of those options costs you money, damages your credit, or restarts the closed circuit. The cash reserve breaks that loop, so they are critical to the beginning of any wealth building process. Here's why this matters. When an unexpected expense hits, and it will, people without an emergency fund have one option, as we talked about, and that is debt. So you have to make sure that you have this account set up. Here's a tip to help you build up those cash reserves. You might want to consider automating your emergency transfer on payday. Before you see the money, set up a separate high yield savings account and schedule the transfer for the same day your paycheck lands. What you don't see, you don't spend. Same situation with your 401k. That money goes in there and you never touch it. So treat that cash reserves like another bill that you haven't pulled out automatically. That's going to be very effective for you. Make sense? Perfect. I mean, if I have a client who said they couldn't afford to save $50 a month, we built a zero based budget together. And within 60 days, they were saving $300. Not because they made more money, but because they stopped losing it. That's the key. Being aware of where every dollar is going, making each dollar accountable for its goal and its purpose. Cornerstone number 2: protection management. This is the one people skip. No one wants to think about dying. No one wants to think about getting ill or becoming disabled, but it's a reality and it happens. And it is one of those important cornerstones because the cost can be extremely high. And it is, say that all over again. Cornerstone number 2: protection management. This is the one people skip and is the one that costs them everything. You don't want to think about dying or becoming disabled, but it does happen and it can be costly for your family or for yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've sat across from someone who had done nothing right. Strike that. I can't tell you how many times I've sat across the table from someone who's done everything right. They saved, they invested, they were building something real. And then one event, one diagnosis, one accident, one death in the family, and years of progress were gone in months. Protection management means that whatever wealth you're building, you've also built a wall around it. That wall has several components. Life insurance, specifically. Term life for anyone who is people. Strike that. That wall has several components. Life insurance, specifically. Term life. For anyone who has people depending on their income. Strike that again. Protection management means that whatever wealth you're building, you're also building a wall around it. That wall has several components. Life insurance, specifically term life, for anyone who has people depending on their income. Health insurance, because a single hospitalization without coverage can cost most people most of their earnings for the year. Disability insurance, because statistically, you are far more likely to become disabled during your working years than to die. And liability coverage, especially if you own a business or have significant assets. Now, long term care nursing home is a whole different discussion. We'll get into that in a different podcast. For my business owner clients, we also look into entity structure. Are you set up as an LLC or S corp? That's not just a tax strategy; it's a legal shield to separate you, your personal wealth, from your business risk. That's important. Think of protection management in this way: you are paying the premium on your wealth you haven't built yet. It's not a cost, it's a guarantee that your plan survives contact with real life. I'll say that again. By having this protection in place, you're paying the premium on the wealth you have not built yet. And it's not a cost to you, it's a guarantee that your plan survives contact with real life. Think of protection management in this way: if you're paying the premium on your wealth, I just said that, so just scratch that. Here's a tip: term life insurance is often under $30 a month for a healthy adult in their 30s. If you have a spouse or children or anyone depending on your income, there is no acceptable reason to be uninsured. You need to call an advisor this week to get some quotes of what it might cost you to get insured. Protection is not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it is the cornerstone that holds everything else up when the storm comes. And you and I both know the storm is going to come. So make sure you have it. Cornerstone number 3: growth investments. And this is where I want to spend a little extra time because this is where I see most confusion and honestly the most fear. Building long term wealth, strike that. For long term growth, my baseline approach centers on low cost index funds and ETFs, which stands for exchange traded funds, inside a tax advantage account, your 401k or your Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. The math here is extraordinary. A 25-year-old who invests $300 a month at a 7% average annual return will have over $900,000 by the time they're 65. Not by picking stocks, not by timing the market, by starting, being consistent, and letting compounding do the work for them, letting the money make money. But here's where I want to introduce you to a tool that most people have never heard of or have heard about it, but in the wrong context: fixed index annuities. The word annuity can make some people nervous. That's because a lot of annuities sold in the past were expensive, complicated, and not in the client's best interest. But that was in the past. But fixed index annuities, or FIAs, are a different animal altogether. And when you use these correctly, they're one of the most powerful stability tools available to you. They're kind of a hybrid in the sense that they fit into your growth component of your four cornerstones, and the protection component of your four cornerstones, and also in the income component of your four cornerstones. So it's a multi-duty investment product. Here's how fixed index annuity works. It's a insurance contract. Your money is not directly invested in the stock market. Instead, your interest is linked to the performance of an index, like the S&P 500. We're all familiar with that. We see it on the news every day. If the index goes up, you earn a portion of that gain up to the cap rate or the participation rate set by the insurance company. If the index goes down, and this is the key, you earn zero, not negative, but zero. So you never lose your principal and you never lose the money that you've already gained when you're dealing with annuities. Your principal is protected. You can never lose your core balance due to market performance. It's good to know. For clients who are 10 to 15 years from retirement, well, before I go into that, let me just give you an example equation for a fixed index annuity. Let's say the market goes up 15% and your cap is 8%. Well, you earn 8%. The market drops 30%, you earn 0%. Your balance doesn't go backward. That is the zero loss floor. So keep that in mind. Now, for clients who are 10 or 15 years from retirement, people who have spent decades building savings and simply cannot afford to have a market crash cut their balance in half before they retire. This combination of market linked growth and principal protection is a powerful middle ground between pure market exposure and sitting in cash. Cash just won't work for you when you're trying to make sure that your dollar is outperforming inflation. So this is an excellent way to bridge that gap, where you have growth and you have protection. Now, I want to be transparent with you. Fixed index annuities are not perfect for everyone. There are caps on your upside. I mean, if the market goes up 30, maybe you only get 8. Plus, you pay their price to protect against the downside. There are surrender periods, typically 6 to 10 years. Now, when you get a bonus, in other words, if a company pays you a percentage to bring their money over, which might be 20, 30%, they're going to want to make sure you stay in that product for at least 10 years to make sure that they can get back the money they gave you. And that surrender period drops 1% each year. So if it's a 10-year surrender period and it's a 10% surrender charge, it drops 1% every year. 10%, 9%, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, during which time you can't fully withdraw all of your money without a penalty, but you can take out 10% every year without a penalty. These factors matter, and you should discuss them carefully with the qualified advisor. Make sure that this is right for you. But for the right client, in the right situation, a fixed index annuity can be a cornerstone of truly resilient growth strategy. But don't let the words annuity stop the conversation. Ask your advisor specifically about fixed index annuities and how they compare to your current growth strategy. The zero loss floor alone may be worth a conversation. So make sure you bring it up. Cornerstone number 4, income investments. Now, this is the one that changes everything. This is where you close the circuit fully. Say that again. Cornerstone number 4, income investments. And this is the one that changes everything. This is where the closed circuit fully breaks. Let me ask you something. What does financial freedom actually look like? For most people, the answer is, I don't want to worry about money. I want to know that I'm okay. I don't want to run out of money. I want to make sure that my family is taken care of and that I can live my life without checking my account balance every morning with dread. So it's about the income that you're receiving. That's not just a nest egg. That's income. Specifically, it's the income that you cannot outlive. And that's what annuities do for you. There are several ways to build income producing assets: dividend stocks, real estate investment trust, real estate properties, cash flowing businesses. I used all of these depending on the client situation, but for clients who are approaching or entering retirement, the most powerful income tool that can be deployed, I believe, is the indexed annuity. And with the index annuity, you can put in an income rider, also called a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit, or GLWB. Here's how it works. When you add an income rider to your fixed index annuity, you create a separate benefit base, a hypothetical account that grows at a guaranteed rate during the years you're not yet drawing the income. That guaranteed growth is often between 6 to 8% a year, completely separate from what the market is doing. Then, when you're ready to retire, that benefit base converts into the guaranteed income stream every month for the rest of your life, regardless of market performance, regardless of how long you live. If you live to be 95 or 100 or 105, the income keeps coming. That's the benefit. That's the true benefit of a fixed index annuity. Now, hypothetically, I had a client, her name was Patricia, who retired at 67 and was terrified of running out of money. She had savings, but the market volatility kept her up at night. She was wondering what was going to happen when she lose all of her money. So we allocated a portion of her portfolio into an index annuity with the income rider. Now, Patricia receives a guaranteed monthly check on top of her Social Security for the rest of her life. She sleeps at night. She travels. She's not afraid of her account balance anymore. And her other money continues to grow. This is the goal. This is what breaking the closed circuit looks like in retirement. One important note: income riders do come with fees. It's for some annuities. Some, there are no fees for this. And typically between 0.5% to 1% per year for that particular fee. So always ask the advisor to model exactly what the guaranteed income will be and weigh that against the cost. It must be something that you understand. And in most cases, for clients who fear longevity risk, this risk of outliving the money, the math works strongly in their favor. Just make sure you understand what the cost is and what the reward is, and make sure it balances out for you. Here's a tip: ask your advisor to run an income projection showing what your guaranteed monthly income would be at a different retirement age, and see the numbers before you decide. 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, different scenarios. Know the information before you dive in. All right, let's bring this home. The closed circuit: limited resources, reactive decisions, missed opportunities, continued instability is real. Michelle Alexander wrote about it. Loic Walcott named it. And millions of Americans live it every day in their finances. But it is not permanent. It is not your destiny. It is a pattern, and patterns can be replaced with systems. The four cornerstones of wealth is our system: stability through budgeting and cash reserves, protection through comprehensive coverage, growth, including the strategic use of fixed index annuities, and income, specifically guaranteed income that you cannot outlive. These four cornerstones don't just build wealth, they build confidence, they build legacy. They transform the question from will I have enough to what do I want to do with everything I've built? How am I going to spend my money? Where am I going to go? What will my retirement look like? It's going to look like whatever I wanted to because I planned for that. So if you're ready to build your comprehensive financial plan and you want to have a real conversation about whether index annuities belong in your strategy, I want to talk to you. Visit marshalyourmoney.com and reach out directly. You can go to this site and request a complimentary consultation, and you can set up the date that works for you. Now, we are registered in Texas and Kentucky, and we work with people who are serious about building wealth that lasts. Until next time, keep building wealth. Peace.